Number of flood evacuees surpasses 60,000. Brace for rise in COVID cases following floods. Hello and good evening. Thanks for joining us. You're watching News at 10. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. The number of flood evacuees nationwide continues to rise as the country battles some of its worst flooding in years. As of 9 p.m. today, more than 63,000 people in the 8 flood-hit states were forced to evacuate their homes, an increase from over 41,000 evacuees as of noon today. According to the disaster info application of the Social Welfare Department, Pahang is currently the worst flood-affected state with more than 33,000 residents being placed at over 200 temporary relief centres PPS. The evacuees were from more than 9,000 families, with Kuantan being the most severely affected district. About 24,000 people fled their homes in the country's richest state of Selangor. They comprised of almost 7,000 families and are sheltering at 133 relief centres. Over in Kelantan, 33 PPS are housing about 3,000 people from over 1,000 families. 5 districts were affected, including Kuala, Gua Musang, Pasir Mas, Jeli and Tanah Merah. Meanwhile, in Perak, some 315 residents from 92 families were forced to seek shelter at 3 PPS, namely Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Abdul Rahman Talib, Sekolah Kebangsaan Kuala Slim and Teluk Intan Municipal Council Hall. The 2 districts affected are Hilir Perak as well as Mualim. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah today decreed that COVID-19 screening tests must be conducted for all flood evacuees housed at temporary relief centres PPS to avoid the emergence of new clusters. His Majesty said that the test is necessary to ensure that those infected with COVID-19 be separated from other evacuees so as to comply with the Standard Operating Procedures SOP set by the Health Ministry to curb the spread of the coronavirus.
Bila kita masuk ke podcast ni perlu buat swab test dan dia swab test supaya kita dapat asingkan mereka yang positif dan negatif, dan ini perlu diambil kira prioriti utama yang pertama sekali, dan kita tidak mahu pusat ini menjadi center atau cluster pada wabak COVID ini. Please take note of that.
Sultan Abdullah said this when visiting 225 flood evacuees at the Wisma Belia PPS in Kuantan. Raja Pemaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Aziza Aminah Maimunah Iskandariah and their sons, the Regent of Pahang, Tunku Hassan Al-Ibrahim Alam Shah and Tunku Panglima Raja Tunku Amin Nasir Ibrahim Shah were in attendance. The King also decreed that all quarters involved in flood operations must continue helping the affected people, either at home or at the relief centres. While expressing sympathy to all flood evacuees in the country, Sultan Abdullah also called on all Malaysians to pray for the flood situation to improve soon. The Health Ministry MOH expects an increase in positive COVID-19 cases at PPS nationwide following the floods in the country. Its Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the reason being that the PPS were considered high-risk areas and public health measures could not be implemented and complied with fully due to the condition.
kita memahami sebab keutamaan dalam kita menyelamat mangsa banjir ini adalah untuk menyelamatkan mereka, dan kadang-kalanya memang tidak dapat dielakkan beberapa perkara yang sepatutnya dibuat dalam langkah kesihatan awam tak dapat dipatuhi. Kita faham, contoh tidak ada pelitup muka dan sebagainya. You're rescuing people from the flood, that is the priority.
Harry said as of 11 a.m. today, 181 positive COVID-19 cases had been detected at PPS nationwide, involving 117 cases in Selangor, 52 cases in Pahang, 6 in Kelantan, 4 in Kuala Lumpur and 1 each in Negeri Sembilan and Melaka. The screening results at the PPS also found that most of the cases were from Category 1 and 2, and all of them had been transferred to hospitals, COVID-19 low-risk quarantine and treatment centres, PKRC, or at designated facility that has been set up specifically for COVID-19 cases. To cope with the increase in COVID-19 cases, Khairi said the number of MOH teams on the ground will be increased to conduct screenings at PPS, adding that the supply of face masks, hand sanitizers and various other essentials items have been sent to all of the PPS. Efforts to evacuate residents who are still trapped in their flooded houses in Taman Sri Muda area in Shah Alam are being intensified with the use of 41 boats, 16 lorries and other assets today. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Semasa in his Facebook posting said the evacuation of over 500 people, which began last Friday, was being mounted by the rescue teams from the Shah Alam, Subang Jaya and Puchong fire and rescue stations. The Prime Minister said he completely understands the public's concern about the safety of those stranded by floods and reiterated that rescue efforts are being intensified and rescue operations are being carried out non-stop. He said the Social Welfare Department is also preparing cooked meals to be sent to those at home and relief centres, adding he would continue monitoring the development and pray for the flood situation to improve soon. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri also thanked the security forces, relevant agencies, as well as volunteers, non-governmental organisations and every member of Keluarga Malaysia who had been working tirelessly in helping those affected. Meanwhile, a total of 331 personnel, including from the Fire and Rescue Department, Police, Army and related agencies, have been mobilised to immediately evacuate those affected in Taman Sri Muda today. Housing and Local Government Minister Datuk Seri Riza American said the area, which has about 4,400 houses, was the main focus of the personnel carrying out rescue efforts and evacuation of affected individuals.
Pada waktu ini memang kita dapat lihat keadaannya adalah keadaan yang sedikit bukan mudah untuk diuruskan, kerana saya difahamkan rumah yang membabitkan di sini adalah 4,400 dan masih ada lagi terdapat kawasan-kawasan yang fenomena air termenung itu yang masih lagi belum surut. Tapi apapun, the deployment of makanan dan keperluan yang diperlukan sedang giat dilakukan, dan pada waktu ini boleh dikatakan semuanya dalam keadaan yang telah pun they have been reached out.
Met in Taman Sri Muda, the minister said there were residents who did not want to be moved to the temporary relief centres and instead asked for food aid to be channelled to them. Apart from assets in Selangor, the Fire Rescue Department would also mobilise its assets from the federal territory and other states that were not affected by the floods. The current numbers of deaths from the flood in Selangor is 8. State Fire and Rescue Department said 4 deaths were found in Sri Muda alone. The cause of death of the latest victim is still unknown, but the 3 other deaths were from drowning. Some houses required special equipment to get into and required second trips to rescue the victims. Met at the Sri Muda Flood Command Point in Shah Alam, Selangor Fire and Rescue Department Director Norazam Khamis said the latest victim, a woman believed to be an Indonesian national, was found on the upper floor of the house.
Laporan mangsa terperangkap dalam rumah yang kita cakap rumah-rumah semua sekarang ni, buat masa ni kita tak dapat lagi info yang menyatakan dia terperangkap dan kita pergi dapat mayat. Satu, ada mangsa yang kita dapati semalam ialah salah satu orang yang cuba menyelamat orang. Jadi dia bawa bot kan, betul lah? Dia collect ni dan kita telah ambil. Kemudian ada 3 mangsa yang dimaklumkan ini adalah lemas sendiri.
Meanwhile, 3 deaths were reported in Kajang and 1 in Sungai Buloh. National Disaster Management Agency Director General Dato Dr. Aminuddin Hasim, who was also on location, said that volunteers are welcome to assist, but they are urged to register with the authorities before doing so. In Bentong Pahang, 4 bodies believed to be victims of the mud flood incident in Telemong on Saturday were found today. Fire Rescue Department Operations Officer Muhammad Sufian Yaakob said the first body was found by the rescue team at 1 p.m, while the bodies of 2 women were recovered at 1:20 p.m. and 2 p.m. respectively. The 4th body was found at 4:32 p.m. He said the bodies were found about 2 to 5 kilometers from the spot they were reported missing after being swept away by strong currents following the incident. Yesterday, Bentong District Police Chief Superintendent Zaiha Muhammad Kahar confirmed that they had received reports regarding the disappearance of 5 people in an incident at a village in Telemong. Rescue operation to search for the remaining victim is still underway. Several government-linked investment companies, GLICs, and government-linked companies, GLCs, have agreed to contribute 50.8 million ringgit to assist efforts in post-flood recovery. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Semasa Yaakob said the contributions increased by 100% compared to 25 million ringgit announced yesterday. In a statement after chairing a special National Disaster Coordination meeting today, the Prime Minister said the GLICs and GLCs that contribute include Petronas, Yayasan Petronas, Khazanah Nasional and Yayasan Hasanah, Yayasan Saim Darbi, CIMB, Celcom, Telekom Malaysia, Yayasan UEM and Employee Provident Fund. He said with the government's grant of 25 million ringgit, the total fund to deal with flood impact and post-flood recovery has risen to 75.8 million ringgit. The Premier also said to assist entrepreneurs affected by floods, the meeting also decided to provide financing of up to 5,000 ringgit through Bank Simpanan Nasional. In addition, the government is giving 2 months rental waiver to SMEs affected by the floods that are renting a space at the SME Bank's entrepreneur premises complex. Apart from that, an additional 30 million ringgit has been allocated for flood relief loans, which will be placed under Tekun Nasional. Individuals who lost their identity card, passport and other important documents during the flood can get a replacement for these documents free of charge. Home Minister Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin said the National Registration Department and Immigration Department would be ordered to assist those whose personal documents had been destroyed or lost in the flood.
Segala dokumen yang mereka perlukan, contohnya sijil kematian, sijil kelahiran, yang rekod-rekod yang mereka telah pun musnah diakibatkan bencana ini, kita akan berikan secara percuma. Biar mereka fokus settle kedudukan tempat mereka tinggal dulu ya. Kemudian baru besok mudah bila dah semua selesai, kita boleh hantarkan mobile JPN untuk masuk untuk membantu dan juga Jabatan Immigration untuk bantu buat pasport dan sebagainya.
Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Hamzah said the Home Ministry would be getting the assistance of over 5,000 RELA members and from other relevant agencies for over 23,000 PDRM officers and personnel in the flood assistance operations in 8 affected states. Coming up, government targets 60% RFID usage by end of next year. Amendments to the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988, Act 342, which were to be discussed and decided today, have been postponed to the next Parliament sitting. Health Minister Kari Jamaluddin said the decision was made after discussing the matter with Prime Minister Datuk Seri Semasa and the opposition leader Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, apart from taking into account the current flood situation in the country. According to Kari, the ministry had an engagement session with the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, Science and Innovation this morning.
Saya telah bentang pada jawatankuasa pilihan khas tadi segala butiran dan perincian berkenaan dengan pindaan ini, termasuklah peraturan dan juga garis-garis panduan yang diperlukan dalam pindaan. Dan kita juga telah mendengar pandangan daripada kumpulan pakar yang telah memberi cadangan dan juga nasihat kepada jawatankuasa pilihan khas. Dan saya telah dimaklumkan oleh pengurusi jawatankuasa pilihan khas Yang Berhormat daripada Bandar Kuching bahawa jawatankuasa pilihan khas telah membuat keputusan sebulat suara minta saya untuk tangguhkan pindaan ini, bukan disebabkan tidak disokong secara dasarnya ataupun perkara-perkara substantif yang sebahagian besar telah pun dipersetujui. Cuma ada beberapa detail yang masih lagi perlu sesi yang akan datang supaya dapat dipersetujui bersama.
Kari said if the bill was approved without the consensus of political parties, it would hamper smooth implementation of the amendment. The bill, which includes increasing the maximum compound on individuals and corporate organizations violating the law, was tabled for its first reading in the Dewan Rakyat last Tuesday. The Works Ministry is targeting 60% usage of radio frequency identification (RFID) technology for toll payments by the end of 2022. Speaking in the Dewan Negara today, Deputy Works Minister Dato' Arthur Joseph Kurup said the use of touch and go and smart tag cards may be stopped by the end of 2023.
Kita memahami kebimbangan yang disuarakan oleh semua pengguna lebuh-raya yang ingin dijelaskan bahawa buat masa ini lorong kad touch and go dan smart tag tetap beroperasi di semua lebuh-raya dan ia hanya akan diberhentikan secara berperingkat mengambil kira kepada kadar penggunaan RFID dan kesediaan lorong RFID.
He was replying to a supplementary question from Senator Aknan Ituk on the ministry's plans on the use of RFID technology. Dato' Arthur added that the cost of RFID is much lower than touch and go and smart tag, apart from not having maintenance costs such as replacing the battery as needed for smart tag, besides ease of topping up online for RFID. The Malaysian Athletics Federation plans to send its athletes to compete in at least 3 tournaments in preparation for the Hanoi SEA Games in May next year. Its Deputy President Dato' Mumtaz Jaafar said if circumstances allowed, the federation would send athletes to participate in the international tournament for exposure. According to Datuk Mumtaz, the Malaysian Athletics Federation will probably organise another closed tournament as preparations, while for the overseas tournaments, it will depend on the COVID-19 situation. She further explained that if the athletes would not be able to participate in international tournaments, several competitions would be held in Malaysia and athletes from 1 or 2 countries would be invited to participate if possible. She also revealed that the selection of athletes for the SEA Games would be held in the near future, adding that it would probably see a mix of junior and senior athletes. Alright, so that concludes this evening's news at 10. In our top story, number of flood evacuees surpasses 60,000. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. Stay tuned to Saluran Berita TM and have a pleasant evening.